Relations between the Kremlin and Chechnya governor Ramzan Kadyrov have soured. In this case, Russian authorities are taking steps to weaken the Chechen elite's hidden influence mechanisms in other regions of the country. According to an insider black source, Moscow has already launched a systematic campaign against the activities of Kadyrov's men outside of Chechnya. According to the source, a controller from Chechnya who controlled the criminal world of the region was detained in the city of Ufa, Bashkortostan. He appointed responsible persons for various districts and prisons, as well as supervised the collection of the common treasury. Currently, individuals close to the Chechen authorities are also stripped of immunity. Under the law, holding a high position in the criminal hierarchy can be punishable by up to 15 years in prison and a large fine. Experts see this incident as a warning to Ramzan Kadyrov. According to insiders, the Kremlin is deliberately weakening the criminal connections of Chechen clans, thus trying to eliminate regional vertical structures that could be potential rivals for Moscow. Recall the fallout between Kremlin and Kadyrov began when the FSB informed the Russian president about unauthorized negotiations the Chechen leader has held with Middle Eastern monarchies. Amid worsening health, Kadyrov has reportedly sought assurances from foreign allies regarding his assets and his family's safety. While Kadyrov has denied being in poor health, he has spent long periods out of the public eye in recent months. The modern Chechen Republic exists as a subsidized feudatory region where the governing mechanism is the personal will of the republic's leader, his clan, his power machine, and relations with Moscow built on bargaining, once again proving that this is not peace but a temporary lull. Russia continues to finance Chechnya. Subsidies, investments, reconstruction, and in essence, an annual tribute for the loyalty of Ramzan Kadyrov's regime to Moscow. But this stable relationship is beginning to fray, not only between Moscow and Grozny, but also within Chechnya. Beyond the immediate conflict over power and resources, there is a much deeper, systemic risk. It is well known that the Kremlin's goal is to control not only territories, but also the legitimacy, legality, and institutional framework of its republics, territories, and regions.
President Donald Trump described his face-to-face with Chinese leader Xi Jinping on Thursday as a roaring success, saying he would cut tariffs on China, while Beijing had agreed to allow the export of rare earth elements and start buying American soybeans. According to Associated Press, the president told reporters aboard Air Force One that the U.S. would lower tariffs implemented earlier this year as punishment on China for its selling of chemicals used to make fentanyl from 20% to 10%. That brings the total combined tariff rate on China down from 57% to 47%, I guess, on the scale from 0 to 10, with 10 being the best. I would say the meeting was a 12, Trump said. I think it was a 12. Trump said that he would go to China in April and she would come to the U.S. sometime after that. The president said they also discussed the export of more advanced computer chips to China, saying that NVIDIA would be in talks with Chinese officials. Trump said he could sign a trade deal with China pretty soon. Despite Trump's optimism after a 100-minute meeting with Xi in South Korea, there continues to be the potential for major tensions between the world's two largest economies. Both nations are seeking dominant places in manufacturing, developing emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, and shaping world affairs like Russia's war in Ukraine. Trump's aggressive use of tariffs since returning to the White House for a second term, combined with China's retaliatory limits on exports of rare earth elements, gave the meeting newfound urgency. There is a mutual recognition that neither side wants to risk blowing up the world economy in ways that could jeopardize their own country's fortunes. When the two were seated at the start of the meeting, Xi read prepared remarks that stressed a willingness to work together despite differences. There was a slight difference in translation as China's Xinhua news agency reported Xi as telling Trump that having some differences is inevitable.
President Donald Trump has met face-to-face with the Chinese leader Xi Jinping in South Korea on the final day of Trump's Asia trip. The two leaders met at an airbase in the city of Busan and spoke for 1 hour and 40 minutes. This was a chance for both sides to stabilize relations after some rocky months, thanks to Trump's aggressive tariffs and China's retaliatory limits on rare earth exports. So how did the meeting go? Well, on Air Force One afterwards, Trump said that the US would reduce tariffs and China would end restrictions on rare earth exports. Unsurprisingly, Trump said he'd rate the meeting 12 out of 10, and he also gave some idea of future visits between the two leaders. Trump to China in April and Xi to the US sometime after that. The meeting happened on the sidelines of this year's APEC summit in the South Korean city of Gyeongju. APEC is a 21-member state forum to promote free trade and economic cooperation, and the leaders of these nations meet once a year for high-profile dialogues. But that's all been overshadowed by the Trump-Xi meetup. Trump has already left South Korea for the US a day before APEC officially begins. Xi, meanwhile, will stay here until Saturday, taking part in the leaders' meeting and also paying a state visit to South Korea.
Mr. President, why did you change your nuclear plan? Why are you going to be doing more nuclear testing?
Okay. Thanks, Ken. Right here. Okay. 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 Thanks, Ken.